What's going on, reefers? Blaine here. In today's video, we are going to be kicking off our trip up to New York. We had a lot of fun. In today's video, we're going to be checking out not just one, but two amazing systems in Dave's home. Let's dive in. Reefers, we've made our way up north here in Merrick, New York. Dave, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Your system is beautiful. Your home is amazing. I want to start off right away. How'd you get into saltwater fish keeping?
So I've been into aquariums and fish keeping for pretty much my whole life. Started when I was born. We always had tanks in the house, but they were fresh water. It wasn't until I was about 15 years old that my dad and I got into scuba diving, and we thought it'd be a good idea to get a saltwater tank. My first job in high school was at a pet store, at a local fish store, and I got the bug from there, and been on and off, and back on now.
Yeah, once the bug bites you, it's over, right? That saltwater bug gets you, it's really gonna let it ride. So one thing I love about your tank, and I've talked about in some other videos, is the fact that you guys have really incorporated it into your home and the architecture of your home. It really flows very naturally. It looks really good. The nook and cranny right here is beautiful. Let's talk about the size of the tank. How big is this tank? What are the dimensions? What's the gallons?
Yeah, awesome. So it's a 235 gallon tank. It's 6 feet long. It's 28 inches front to back and 27 tall.
And then when you're going ahead and planning out your system, obviously a mixed reef, right? We have all kinds of different things in here. I see the LPS garden, we've got sticks up top and zoas. How are you working around that mixed reef battles? There's obviously gonna be some chemical warfare, right? What are you doing to kind of mitigate that? And how did you decide to go out with a mixed reef tank?
Yeah, so from the beginning, I really wanted it to be a mixed reef. I like the idea of having flowy, large polyp corals, as well as the small polyps and the frags, and eventually growing them out to big colonies. Fortunately, I haven't had much of an issue with coral warfare, but obviously you have to deal with the flow, right? Because the hard corals at the top want more flow, and the large polyps want less. But this was my vision from the beginning, was really to have a true mixed reef, in terms of fish as well as the corals, really just have a little bit of everything.
I love the corals you have in here. That jawbreaker is amazing. When you look at this tank, what are some of your favorite pieces you have in here? I know I don't want you to pick your favorites out of your tank. Obviously you love them all.
Yeah.
But what are some of your favorite pieces in here, and what kind of gave you inspiration to start really rolling that mixed reef way?
Yeah, definitely. So it's hard to pick a favorite, like you said, but I love the gardens that I have set up. So this hammer garden over here is really cool, and they've been growing really well over the last couple of years since I had the tank. The zoas over here, I think, filled into that rock real nice. And then the ganies over here, I think give nice flow and a nice pop of color to the tank. And the torches, and obviously the SPS up on the top that are starting to grow into colonies.
How old is the tank at this point?
So it's about 25 months. So just had the 2-year anniversary of the tank. So still pretty new. But definitely get in there.
Did you start off with dry rock right off the start, or did you have some live rock? Was it strictly dry?
It was pretty much dry rock. I had another tank, 150 gallon, that was pretty well established, so I put some rubble and rock in the sump, but for the most part it was dry rock.
Staying on the same topic, we're talking about livestock. Let's talk about some of your fish. You got some really pretty fish. I love the wrasses you've chosen. The angelfish is very nice, a beautiful pair of clowns. Let's talk about why you chose these fish and what fish you went with.
Yeah, I really just try to pick fish that I think are beautiful. I love the wrasses. They bring so much movement and action and life to the tank. So one of my favorite fish is definitely the Earl's wrasse up there. You don't see them too often. It's super bright, pop of color. I love the tang gang that I have. So the gem was always a dream fish of mine back when I had a tank as a kid. So love having that now in the tank, and the purple tang, and there's a whitetail somewhere in there. Barboneus, again, I just think they're beautiful fish. The spotted yellow and the stripes and streaks in them. Yeah, so really just a mix of a little bit of everything.
Definitely. The Barboneus are beautiful. They're nice and chunky. You had how many lyre tails originally? You said these guys were kind of picking on them a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to happen, right? Those big deep water anthias, they're kind of bullies, right? They're big old fish, and sometimes they'll tend to pick on those smaller anthias. How many anthias do you have in the system total?
So I originally had 5 lyre tails and the 2 barboneus. I'm down to 3 lyre tails and the 2 barboneus. And I will say, and I've seen it happen before, that when the barboneus get big, they get a little aggressive, particularly to the other anthias in the tank. And he even chases around the Bellis angel sometimes. I'll see him chasing around the tank.
The wrasses, are those some of your utility fish that you have in here? Are they kind of a job they have in the system? Obviously the tanks are going to be doing some pecking. Do you have any other fish in mind that you'd like to add into the system?
Always want to add fish. I was telling you before, Blaine, that I have a little bit of aptasia in the tank, so I think a copper band is in my near future.
One of our last tank tours, Ian, he mentioned adding in Kukentheli's shrimp. They do a really good job with aptasia. I think having the natural method, going that natural way, is a really good way. You know, I think there's a lot of times, there's so many products out on the market that if you keep going with all kinds of different things, sometimes the natural method is the better way to go. Let's talk about some of the cleanup crew you have in here. I see some snails, saw a couple urchins. What did you end up choosing for your cleanup crew?
Yeah, so I haven't typically done really great with cleanup crew. For whatever reason, I've never had a lot of success keeping a big population of snails, but I got, you know, initially a package of snails and some hermit crabs. I do have 2 tuxedo urchins in there that do a really good job with the algae and keeping the tank clean, and they're beautiful specimens to have in the tank.
Do you have any issues with the urchins picking up anything and carrying it around?
Yeah,
Is
they
that
do.
ever any issues?
Yeah, they've got some snail shells on their back and that sort of thing. I do also have a lawnmower Blaine in here, so he does a great job. He's always working, picking on the rocks and cleaning algae.
Thought I saw a blood shrimp, and then you also have the cleaner shrimp up top. These guys both have their cleaner stations set up. That's pretty cool. I love seeing the natural way that they kind of get together. We've talked about the livestock. Let's get into some of the tech stuff. Let's talk about some of your equipment. What are you running for lights up top?
So for lights, I have the Neptune waves. I have 3 waves, and they're doing a pretty good job. I'm happy with them.
How long do you run those for? What's your schedule period?
So they run for about 12 hours. Now I think of it maybe 11 hours. So they go on at noon and then they turn off 11 at night. And they kind of ramp up and, you know, peak out and then ramp down.
Are you enjoying the Neptune skies? I know a lot of people are starting to look at getting skies over their tank and trying them out. Have you enjoyed running them on your system?
Yeah, they're good. I had radions before, but the skies are good. They provide a very even and balanced light over the tank. And the corals seem to be doing well, so yeah, overall I'm happy with them.
So you have the Neptune skies. I'm taking a wild guess here. I'm guessing you got an Apex down below. So you've got the automation, right? I feel like lately, you know, in the reefing hobby, right? I've been reefing for 20 years. In the past 5 years, there's been this huge push for automation control in a reef tank. So do you have an Apex on this system currently?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
And then
it was a good guess.
And then how many Apex equipment do you have on this tank in general? Is it just the skies or do you have some other equipment?
So I've got the skies, I have the 2 waves for wave makers. I've got some dosing pumps. I have an automatic water change set up that also runs through the Apex. So yeah, pretty, oh, and I have the, you know what's a really great product is the ruler that tells you the depth.
Okay.
In the
the water level meter.
The water level, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good one.
Those waves, what kind of percentage are you running those on?
They're actually pretty low. They go down as far down as 10%, then they get up to like 30-40%, but they're way below max.
And then the gyre on the back wall too, running that kind of similar speed, pretty much the same. I like
yeah,
how
that's like 50%, yeah.
You're running a good amount of flow in here. It seems like a decent amount of flow. What do you have for a return pump down below?
I have an Abyss return pump.
Okay, and then the sump space itself, what's the water volume on that sump down there?
It's a 4-foot sump. I can't tell you the exact water volume, but it's 4 feet.
Who put this tank into your home and who got you all set up and hooked up with this system?
Yeah, so I'm working with a really great company called Dynamic Tank, and the owner there, Mark Silverman, is awesome. He's a real professional. He uses, you know, top quality products. He's around 24/7. If I ever have a question, you know, he's always there and responsive. So I really owe a lot of the success of the tank to Mark and the crew at Dynamic Tank. They've done a great job.
I can say the same thing. I owe everything to Mark as well. He's the one that actually hooked me up, meeting up with my boss for me to come up and check out this system. When we're talking about equipment too, what else do you have running down there for mechanical filtration, anything like that?
So I have a Reef Octopus skimmer. I run bio pellets, so my nutrient export is basically bio pellets with a nice size skimmer, daily automatic water changes of 3 gallons a day, and I'm gonna have a little mangrove. A little mangrove
I saw that a little earlier.
Yeah.
You got a mangrove up here in New York. You know, I was telling you, mangroves can grow in New York, people. I'm letting you know that right now.
They grow.
What are you going to do when that thing starts growing out a little bit? Are you going to be chopping out at some of those branches, trying to get it to be a little bit more bushy?
Yeah, I'm far from an expert in mangroves, so I'm figuring it out as I go, but that's the plan, just keep chopping it.
I saw you got the Kessel on there, and you got a couple other lights down there. That mangrove seems like it's doing well down below, though.
Yeah,
it's putting out a lot of good roots and some nice leaves. I love the system. Let's talk a little bit about your maintenance. What are you doing for maintenance? You just mentioned you have the automatic water change that's occurring, you know, all the time. What else are you doing for maintenance?
So it's honestly pretty low maintenance. If you ask my wife, she may say something different, but I think it's pretty low maintenance. I feed pellets in the morning, and I feed frozen at night. So kind of every day feeding the tank. Clean the skimmer once a week. There's the automatic water change, so it's a 45-gallon drum. So about every 10 days, I'll make new salt water. You know, scrape the glass every couple days when it needs it, but it's pretty low maintenance.
What pellets are you feeding them? The Marine S. Okay, Hikari, nice, very cool.
Yeah, and they do a good job. The fish like them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
When we're looking at dosing too, are you actively dosing anything in this tank? I know you got a good amount of fish. I'm sure that's given some good food for the coral. What are you actively dosing? And as well, on top of that, are you doing any coral feedings as well? You know, you're feeding your fish. Are you doing any actively feeding coral in here?
Yeah, good questions. So in terms of dosing, connected through the Trident, I dose alk and calcium. It's a ESB, alk and calcium, and it's plugged into the Trident. It works pretty well. I don't direct feed the corals. I more kind of broadcast, but I've been feeding Benepets. I've been feeding Benepets, and seems to work pretty well. The corals seem to be responding pretty well to it.
We use a ton of Benepets in the farm. We are feeding a lot over there. We're actively mixing aminos, our live phytoplankton, and then Benepets together, and we're creating this, you know, kind of coral cocktail that we're feeding all of the tanks. We really like it. We're utilizing Benepets kind of as a tool. People don't really realize that Benepets can actually help you with kind of lowering your phosphates a little bit. You're not going to be, you know, pumping in and giving so much in there. You know, Reefroids sometimes will bump up those phosphates a little bit, where we use that as a tool as well. But if we're trying to be able to feed our corals and still keep our phosphates at a proper level, we're going to utilize Benepets. When we're talking about shooting for numbers, testing, what kind of numbers are we looking to get in the tank here? You know, your nitrates, your phosphates, all those base kind of levels. What are we looking to get?
Yeah, so I try really hard not to chase numbers, but it's hard. But anyway, so where the tank has typically been and is at now, nitrates between 10 and 15, phosphates are between 0.1 and 0.15, and then alkalinity usually between 8.5 and 9, calcium about 420. Magnesium, I can't get any two tests to agree on a magnesium level, so I actually have no idea.
You got the auto water change going on. What salt are you using on this system?
So I've been using Tropic Marin Pro pretty much since the beginning, and it's working really well.
What kind of trials and tribulations have you gone through? You know, everyone goes through their woes, right? I mean, this has been up for 2 years. Surely you've been through some battles. What kind of things have you dealt with to get this tank to where it's at today?
Yeah, another great question. I've certainly had battles. Anyone who's in the hobby knows that there's ups and there's downs. So it took me the better part of a year to get through the ugly stage. So like I said before, I had another tank that was well established, and I thought, you know, I really knew what I was doing. And, you know, I made the biggest mistake you can make in reefing is I just tried to do too much too fast. So I had really bad hair algae for the better part of a year, and it just took a lot of persistence and hard work, and, you know, just a lot of a lot of manpower to turn around and get the system balanced.
They're super intricate systems. You got to be dedicated to them. It takes a lot of time. Obviously, you're probably in here looking at it every single day, doing whatever you can. Love how you've created these gardens. Was that initially the plan when you were kind of scaping it out and putting corals in place? Were you looking at creating these little gardens? You've got the LPS garden, we've got a Ghani garden up top, and we've grouped in some torches together. Was that kind of your plan originally when you were getting scaped out?
Yeah, it was. And I guess the idea kind of came from a BRS video where Ryan was building out his dream tank, and he kind of had the idea of having these kind of gardens of the same coral kind of grouped together, so you could see the differences in, you know, either polyp structure or in the colors and that sort of thing. So I thought that was a good idea and wanted to go with a similar type of idea.
You've kind of debunked a myth for a lot of people. I feel like, you know, you've got these big windows right here, right? It's an open space. This gets a lot of natural light. Do you see that creating any issues for algae or anything like that? Or are you kind of showing people that this can happen, right? You can run a tank with all this natural light as well.
So in the beginning, I think it was a big problem and definitely contributed heavily to the initial uglies, but it's been running for over a year, you know, with the natural light coming in, and it's been fine.
I've really enjoyed this. I want to ask you, I ask every single person whenever I come into their home. Of course, thank you so much for letting me be here, but I ask everyone, what's a piece of advice? If you were to give a reefer a piece of advice, whether it be a new reef keeper or someone that's been in the hobby for a little bit of time, what would you give them as a piece of advice, a little nugget of knowledge if they're getting into the hobby?
So I've got a bunch, but I think if it boils down to, if you have the itch and the interest and the desire, just keep at it. There's so much information that you could get out there. The videos that you guys do at Top Shelf are incredible and been a huge resource for me to, you know, figure all this stuff out. So just keep at it. You know, for a new reefer, if they had to go through what I went through in the first year, I'd imagine most of them would leave the hobby. But if you stay at it, keep persistent. You know, obviously everyone says, you know, do things slowly, take your time, don't rush. But, you know, just keep on learning, keep on educating yourself, and just stick with it, and the rewards are great.
Yeah, everyone says it, you know, time, you know, helps all, right? There's time doing your proper research, but I think, you know, you've done an absolutely amazing job with this tank. It looks great. It's really starting to grow in. After 2 years, I think you've done a great job. I love the fish selection too. The corals are beautiful. Thank you so much for letting me stop into your house. This has been a ton of fun. I know we have another little tank we're gonna check out here right now, so let's go ahead and head up there and check that out.
Awesome, sounds good.
Let's do it. All right, we're hanging out in here now with Brooks. We've got his awesome Nano tank. Brooks, let's talk a little bit about your tank. What do you got going on in here? You got some corals, you got a fish.
Right there.
You got a coral right there. You got some rock flowers as well. What's your favorite thing about your tank?
A coral?
This coral right here. And then do you have a name for your fish?
No.
No? What do you do? So do you clean it every single day with your scraper?
Every time it's dirty.
Every time it's dirty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something I really like your mom pointed out was this Lego guy is actually your auto top off. That's super cool. I love it. Do you know how long's this tank been running?
Since January.
Since January, right? It was your birthday present, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, your dad was telling me that he actually cooked up the rock in his sump, and then he was able to put it in here and kind of get a straight cycle, so super cool. Well, thank you, dude, for letting me come up here and check out your reef tank. It's really nice. I mean, I don't know that many kiddos that have a saltwater reef tank in their room. I'm sure you tell all your friends, huh?
Camera high.
Well, again, thank you, Brooks, for letting me come up into your room. Check this out. This has been super cool. Do you have anything you want to tell everybody on YouTube before we get out of here?
No.
Okay, perfect. Love it. Well, thank you to both of you guys. Checking out your tank as well. I love seeing a family affair, right? You guys got everybody involved here in the house. You're talking about your wife's into it. You guys are into it. This has been a ton of fun. If you guys have enjoyed this video, thank you guys so much for hanging out, checking out this tank, and hanging out with us here. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future uploads.